Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to drift back in time so far back that the world, as we know it, was only just beginning to take shape? Imagine closing your eyes and letting yourself be carried, not by the present, not by the weight of today, but by something far more ancient, a whisper, a memory in the bones of the earth itself. Tonight, we are going to follow that whisper into a land that has been called the very cradle of civilization, a place where rivers carried life across deserts, where the first cities breathed into being, and where human dreams were etched into clay beneath a setting sun. Before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. Picture the horizon glowing in shades of amber and deep violet. The sky above Mesopotamia is settling into evening. The air is warm, the kind of warmth that lingers after a long day, when the land itself exhales, cooling gently as shadows stretch across the fields. The twin rivers of Tigris and Euphrates are slowing their restless murmur, their surface touched by firelight from the descending sun. Villages along their banks begin to soften into stillness. From afar, smoke rises in faint, curling lines as families prepare their last meals of the day. The smell of roasting barley, dates, and bread carried by the breeze blends with the earthy scent of wet clay. You are standing in this vision at the threshold of something both immense and intimate. Immense, because here, in this land between rivers, humanity's great experiment with civilization began. And intimate, because at its heart, this was simply the story of people's lives not so different from ours, though separated from us by thousands of years. People who watch sunsets just as we do, who felt the hush of twilight press against their skin, who told their children stories before sleep. The world they lived in was raw, elemental. It was a world without skyscrapers, without the constant hum of machines, without glowing screens to light the night. Instead, torches and oil lamps flickered. Stars carved brilliant patterns into the darkening dome above, and the soundscape was one of insects, animals, and the steady, grounding breath of the river. As we let ourselves drift further into this landscape, allow it to feel both strange and familiar, like a dream stitched from threads of memory we didn't know we carried. The cradle of civilization. That is what later historians would call this place. But for the people living here, it was simply home. A home that was generous, yet unpredictable. The rivers brought fertile soil, but could just as easily bring floods that swept everything away. Yet the people endured, adapted, and in doing so, they built something entirely new. They took mud from the rivers and shaped bricks. They stacked those bricks into walls. And those walls became cities. And those cities became the heartbeat of something the world had never seen before. As the last blush of daylight fades, imagine walking along one of these early city walls. Perhaps you are in Uruk, one of the world's first great cities, a place whose name still echoes across history. The wall beneath your hand is cool, rough with dried clay, and it stretches further than your eyes can follow in the twilight. Behind it, the city breathes. Fires crackle, voices murmur, the occasional laughter of children floats in the air. And above it all rises a distant silhouette of a ziggurat, a step pyramid temple climbing toward the heavens, its outline sharp against the dimming sky. The people here looked at that temple not just as a building, but as a bridge, a place where the human world and the divine world could touch. To them, every sunset was not just a marker time, but a ritual, a passing of the torch from the god of the sun to the god of the moon. And so the ziggurats seemed to catch the glow of both, standing eternal, reminding them of something greater. As you wander further into the city, torches flicker along the narrow lanes. Merchants are closing their stalls, folding away their goods after a long day of trade. Farmers return from the fields, leading donkeys laden with grain. Women carry jars of water, their shadows long in the firelight, and the air is alive with a quiet rhythm, the end of work, the beginning of rest. You find yourself drawn toward the sound of water. A small canal, carved from the river, flows through the edge of the city. Children lean against its banks, dangling their feet in the cool water, whispering secrets they'll forget by morning. The air carries a gentle splash of fish, the rustle of reeds. Somewhere nearby, a lyre plays a soft melody, notes rising and falling like the tide of sleep itself. This is Mesopotamia not as a cold entry in a textbook, but as a living, breathing dream. A place where people invented writing not in silence, but with the murmur of their families around them. Where the first laws were written down to preserve harmony after long days of work. where kings ruled not just with power, but with stories and legends that made sense of their world, passed from one generation to the next. Now, let's slow the pace even more. Imagine yourself sitting on a flat rooftop, the city spread out around you. Roofs in Mesopotamia were often used as gathering spaces, and in the cool of evening, families would climb up to rest, to talk, to eat together beneath the stars. You sit among them, though they don't notice you. You are a dream. After all, a traveler out of time. A woman hums softly to her child, her voice blending with the night air. A man kneads dough, preparing bread for tomorrow's dawn. A dog stretches lazily, tail flicking in sleep. The stars above are impossibly clear. This sky is ancient, untouched by the haze of modern light. Constellations shine like diamonds scattered across black velvet. The people below know them well. Every star, every shifting of the heavens. They have watched them for centuries, charting their paths, tying them to stories, to gods, to omens. And as you watch, too, you can almost hear their thoughts. The awe, the fear, the comfort, the endless curiosity about what lies beyond. Here, in the cradle of civilization, human beings first dared to believe that the patterns of stars could mirror the patterns of their lives, that the heavens themselves could whisper secrets of destiny. And so they began to record, to calculate, to dream. Each star a note in the lullaby of the universe. The warmth of the day has faded. A breeze rises, carrying with the scent of river water and clay. Your eyes grow heavy. The hum of voices below softens. The city exhales, slipping into slumber. And you, too, begin to feel yourself dissolve into this ancient night, where the ordinary and the sacred, the waking and the dreaming blur into one. Mesopotamia at sunset, the beginning of the human story, and the beginning of our dream tonight. The night deepens over the rooftops of Uruk, and as the stars brighten, you find your gaze pulled once again toward the rivers. Always the rivers. Even in stillness, their presence is undeniable, a heartbeat threading through the land. The Tigris and the Euphrates, two ribbons of water, winding through an otherwise harsh and unforgiving world. They are the reason life clings to this place. Without them, there would be only desert, only silence. With them, there is growth, abundance, and the stirrings of civilization. Imagine yourself drifting down toward the riverbank, leaving behind a rooftop where families whisper under the night sky. The earth beneath your feet softens as you draw near the water. The air is cooler here, damp with the smell of mud and reeds. A chorus of frogs hums low in the distance, joined by the occasional splash of fish breaking the surface. Fireflies blink like scattered embers along the shore. The rivers are alive even at night, carrying secrets, carrying dreams. The Tigris, swift and restless, is often the more unpredictable of the two. Its waters cut with determination, rushing along with force that sometimes defies the people who depend on it. The Euphrates, broader and calmer, is a gentle counterpart, its surface often reflecting the sky as though it were a mirror for the gods themselves. Together, they cradle the land, offering not just sustenance but identity. Close your eyes for a moment and listen. Hear the way the water moves a language older than speech. For thousands of years, the people here listened too. They knew when the current was carrying silt, when the floods would rise, when a harvest. The rivers were not just water. They were timekeepers, storytellers, the very breath of this land. Let's follow their flow. Imagine yourself on a small reed boat, the kind Mesopotamians once crafted with bundles of papyrus and rope. It rocks gently as the current carries you forward. The night air brushes cool against your face. The stars shimmer above, reflected in the dark ripples. Every creak of the boat, every splash of the oar, settles you deeper into this dream. As the boat glides, you begin to see how these rivers shape the people. Along their banks lie farmlands, flat and rich, fed by the floods that spread fertile soil across the land each year. Barley fields sway like a golden ocean by day, but now, under moonlight, they are silver, endless, whispering in the breeze. Farmers build canals here, guiding the waters into their crops, carving order out of nature's wild generosity. Irrigation, the quiet miracle that turned wilderness into plenty. Without it, no cities would have risen. Without it, there would be no cradle of civilization. And yet, for all their gifts, The rivers could be merciless. Floods could come suddenly, drowning homes, sweeping away harvests. Droughts could leave the soil cracked and barren. To live by these waters was to live in balance, always grateful, always wary. The people told stories to make sense of this balance. They spoke of gods who control the rivers, gods whose moods could bless or destroy. And so, rituals were performed, offerings made, prayers whispered into the night. Even now, as you drift in your boat, you can almost hear those prayers carried on the wind. The rivers were also roads, pathways connecting one city to another, one people to the next. Traders guided boats heavy with grain, dates, wool, and pottery, moving goods along these watery highways. Ideas traveled with them, stories, songs, myths, ways of life. The rivers did not just feed the land, they fed the imagination. Pause here. Look around. On one side of the bank, you see the silhouette of a shepherd leading his flock toward a resting place. The bleating of sheep rises softly in the stillness. On the other side, faint torchlight glimmers from a village, where families gather at the water's edge to fill jars before bed. You are a quiet witness to a world that never truly sleeps, because the rivers never rest. And as you drift further downstream, you begin to sense how deeply the rivers shaped the inner lives of these people. To them, water was not simply a resource. It was a boundary between worlds, the known and the unknown, the living and the divine. They imagined a great cosmic river flowing through the underworld, guiding souls into eternity. They believed dreams could be carried by water, washed from the heavens into the minds of sleepers. To dream beside the Tigris or Euphrates was to drink from the well of the gods themselves. The boat rocks gently as you close your eyes. You can almost feel yourself dissolving into the rhythm of the current. Water against reed, reed against hand, hand against clay, clay becoming cities, cities becoming civilizations. All of it flowing, always flowing, like the river beneath you. And here, in the quiet of the Mesopotamian night, you realize the rivers are not just part of the story. They are the story. Everything begins and ends with their waters. They are the cradle, the lifeblood, the eternal song of this land. And as your boat drifts onward into darkness, carrying you deeper into this dream, you feel their songs settle into your bones, guiding you gently toward the next chapter of our journey. The reed boat drifts onward, carried by the river's endless embrace. Hours seem to pass, though here in this dream, time is not measured by clocks or calendars, but by the soft rhythm of water and the gradual turning of the sky. The moon now sits high, silver in the landscape, and there, in the distance, you begin to see the glow of firelight, a cluster of lights, faint but steady, rising above the horizon. You lean forward, eyes narrowing against the night. The lights are not scattered, not random like campfires. They are gathered, concentrated, structured like stars gathered into a constellation. And slowly, you realize what you are approaching, one of the world's first true cities. This is Sumer. The boat nudges against the bank, and as your feet press into the cool mud, you step into history's earliest experiment in human community. The air here is alive, even at night. You hear voices echoing through narrow streets, the thud of footsteps on packed earth, the crackle of firewood from hearths within mud brick houses. Above it all, rising like a stairway to the heavens, looms a ziggurat, its shadow vast and solemn against the moon. This is no ordinary village. This is a place where human ambition has taken root, where the dream of something greater than survival is being built brick by brick. Walk with me now, softly, as though our presence might disturb the sleeping city. The streets are narrow, winding, and lined with houses pressed close together. Each home is simple, built from clay bricks dried in the sun, but there is a dignity in their uniformity. A pot rests by a doorway, its curved surface catching the firelight. A dog dozes by a threshold, ears twitching at unseen sounds. The air smells of smoke, clay, and the faint sweetness of dates drying on woven mats. You hear whispers of Sumer itself. For it is not just the people who speak here, but the city itself, alive with the breath of its inhabitants. Each sound a lullaby sung to a child, the murmur of neighbors trading words across rooftops. The soft crack of a jar being opened becomes part of a greater chorus. This city is not silent, even in rest. It hums with the pulse of life. Pause here. Look around. Can you feel it? For the first time in human history, people are living not just as families, not just as scattered tribes, but as something more an urban community. There are laws here. There are markets. There are temples. There is order where before there was only survival. You are standing at the threshold of civilization itself. The whispers grow clearer as you move deeper into the city. At the marketplace, though the stalls are closed, you can imagine their vibrancy by day: grains, wool, pottery, fish, dates, all traded under the watchful eyes of scribes who record each transaction in tiny wedge-shaped marks pressed into clay tablets. Writing was born here, not for poetry or story at first, but for trade, to keep track of goods, of promises, of obligations. From these simple marks would one day come epics, myths, histories. But here, in this city, in this moment, the first whispers of human language captured in clay are being formed. Imagine a scribe at work by lamplight, his reed stylus scratching gently against a damp tablet. His movements are steady, practiced, but to you watching, it feels almost sacred. Every symbol he presses is a seed, and from these seeds will grow forests of memory, knowledge carried through centuries. Without these scribes, without these whispers in clay, the voices of Sumer might have vanished into silence. As you wander, your eyes are drawn again to the ziggurat towering in the distance. Even in shadow, it is imposing a mountain of human effort, tier upon tier, climbing toward the stars. The people of Sumer believed their gods lived above in the skies, and so they built these stairways of earth to bring themselves closer. Imagine climbing its steps, each one echoing beneath your feet. The night wind brushes against your face as you rise higher, leaving behind the sounds of the city. At the summit, the world opens. The city sprawls below like a constellation of flickering fires, and beyond, the rivers glisten like silver veins in the dark earth. For the Sumerians, this was the axis of the world, the place where heaven and earth met. And here, high above the city, you understand, these first cities were more than just gatherings of people. They were dreams given shape, visions made solid. They were whispers carried into stone and clay, saying, "We are here, we matter, and we will endure. Let's linger a little longer." Imagine yourself joining a family as they end their day. Inside their home, light flickers from a small oil lamp. The walls are bare but strong, their surfaces cool to the touch. A woman stirs a pot of lentils, their scent earthy and comforting. A man arranges tools near the doorway, ready for tomorrow's work. Children huddle together on woven mats, eyelids heavy, drifting into sleep. You settle among them, invisible yet present, listening to the rhythm of their breath. Outside, the city continues its murmured lullaby, a sound both ancient and eternal. This is Sumer, the place where civilization learned to dream aloud. And as you close your eyes, letting their whispers settle into you, the city seems to dissolve into mist. You are carried once again into the current of this timeless dream, moving toward the next chapter, where temples will rise beneath the moonlight and the gods themselves will seem almost within reach. The whispers of Sumer slowly fade into the night, and your eyes are drawn once more to that towering silhouette on the horizon. The ziggurat, vast, silent, eternal, rises above the city like a mountain carved by human hands. In the pale wash of moonlight, its steps glow faintly, edges softened by shadow, each level stacked upon the other, as though reaching for the stars themselves. You begin to walk toward it. The streets narrow, then open, then narrow again, funneling you forward. Dogs bark in the distance, then fall silent. The night is alive, but hushed, as if the entire city holds its breath in reverence to this colossal structure. For the Sumerians, this was not merely architecture. This was a meeting place of worlds. The ziggurat was a ladder not for the body, but for the spirit, a stairway connecting the earth with the heavens above. As you draw near, The base of the ziggurat looms over you, its walls rising steeply into the night sky. The mud brick surface is cool beneath your fingertips, its texture rough and ancient, each brick holding the imprint of hands long vanished. You pause here for a moment, pressing your palm against the wall, feeling not just clay but a memory of countless builders who shaped it layer by layer, carrying baskets of earth beneath the burning sun, dreaming of something that would outlast their lifetimes. The air thickens with incense as you climb the first steps. Somewhere near the summit, priests have lit small braziers, and the smoke drifts downward, mingling with the scent of river reeds and clay. Each step rises higher than the last, as though demanding effort not just from your legs, but from your soul. And yet, as you climb, you feel lighter, as if the weight of the city, the clamor, the heat, the worries of daily life is falling away beneath you. Listen closely. The city murmurs far below, a faint echo now, a cradle of sound softened by distance. Up here, the air is clearer, sharper, and the sky feels impossibly close. You can see the moon in full glory, casting silver across the plain, and the stars like scattered jewels strewn by invisible hands. For the priests who tended these temples, this was sacred ground. Here at the summit, they believed they stood halfway between gods and mortals, able to carry prayers upward and bring blessings downward. At the top of the ziggurat rests a shrine. Its walls shimmer with a flicker of firelight, painted with deep blues and golds that catch the glow of torches. You step inside and the air changes. It is cooler here, heavy with the fragrance of burned cedar and frankincense. Clay figurines of deities line the walls, and Nana, goddess of love and war, her eyes wide and unblinking. Enlil, lord of the wind. Nana, the moon god, whose presence seems to pulse with the very light that pours through the doorway. The priests move quietly within the chamber, their white robes brushing against the stone floor. They chant softly, words in a tongue both foreign and strangely familiar, their cadence like the slow rhythm of waves. One tends an offering, bread laid carefully upon a platter, beer poured into a clay cup. Another scatters grains across the floor, each one a tiny echo of devotion. Their voices blend with the crackle of the torches until the entire space vibrates with a hum that feels more felt than heard. As you stand there, invisible, you realize that this is not just ritual. This is connection. For the people of Sumer, the gods were not distant abstractions, but living presences who listened, who cared, who could bless or punish, heal or destroy. And so, every brick of this towering structure, every offering, every whispered prayer, was a plea for balance, for harmony between the fragile human world and the vast, unknowable divine. Step back outside now, onto the platform. The night has grown stiller, the stars brighter. From this height, you can see everything, the sprawl of the city, the winding thread of the river, the far horizon where the desert meets the sky. The world looks endless, eternal, and yet, within it, you feel the pulse of time itself. You feel the heartbeat of civilization, just beginning to quicken, just beginning to dream of eternity. Pause, breathe, let the air fill you, heavy with the scent of incense, alive with the whisper of prayers. Look at the moon, glowing full above the ziggurat, and imagine how many generations have stood where you stand now, gazing upward, wondering, longing, believing. Their questions were the same as ours. Who are we? Why are we here? What lies beyond? And in their search for answers, they built mountains from clay, stairways from soil, and in doing so, they left behind whispers that still reach us tonight. The ziggurat under the moonlight is more than stone and brick. It is a dream given form, a monument to the human desire to reach upward, to touch what cannot be touched, to draw the divine down into the mortal world. And as you stand here, breathing the night, feeling the weight of eternity pressed gently against your skin, you realize that you too are part of this dream. The wind shifts, carrying with it the scent of water. The rivers call once more, guiding you back down the steps, back toward the murmuring streets, back into the flow of the dream. The ziggurat fades behind you, still glowing faintly against the sky, a silent reminder that the search for meaning is as old as humanity itself. And as you drift onward, leaving the temple in the distance, your path leads naturally to the next story waiting in the night, the story of how people first learned to capture their thoughts, their trades, their very dreams and marks upon clay, the birth of writing, the beginning of memory, the whispers of cuneiform carved in silence, waiting for us to listen. The path winds downward from the ziggurat, the steps cooling beneath your feet as you descend into the hushed streets of the city once more. The incense fades, replaced by the earthier scent of clay, ash, and barley. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barks, and a child's laughter drifts faintly through the air before dissolving into silence. The city is preparing for sleep, but not everyone rests. Follow the glow of a small lamp in the distance. It flickers in the window of a low mud brick building, its flame steady despite the night breeze. You step closer and peer inside. There, hunched over a wooden table, sits a scribe. His figure is lit by the warm orange circle of the oil lamp, his shadow dancing against the wall behind him. In one hand, he holds a damp clay tablet. In the other, a slender reed stylus, sharpened to a point. His movements are careful, deliberate. The stylus presses into the clay, leaving tiny wedge-shaped impressions. Each mark is precise, angled, intentional. To anyone else, it might look like nothing more than scratches, but to him, it is language living thought pressed into earth. This is cuneiform, the world's first system of writing, the moment when memory stepped beyond the fragile realm of speech and into permanence. Imagine the sound in this room. The soft tap, press, lift as the stylus strikes clay. The occasional creak of wood as the scribe shifts in his seat. The low hiss of the oil lamp, feeding on its wick. It is not silence, but it is a kind of quiet that sharpens focus, the kind that allows thought to become shape. Close your eyes and listen. Each mark is a whisper of trade agreements, how much grain was delivered, how many sheep were exchanged. A whisper of laws, written to bring order to lives that had grown too vast, too complex to be governed by memory alone. A whisper of myths and prayers, preserved so the voices of the gods would not fade into the air. The tablet under his hand is more than clay, it is memory, permanence, defiance against forgetting. Pause for a moment and feel the weight of this realization. Here, in this quiet chamber, in this city by the rivers, humanity has discovered how to anchor thought in matter. Ideas no longer vanish with breath. Promises no longer dissolve when words are lost. A farmer's harvest, a merchant's trade, a king's decree, all can now outlast a moment, carried forward into generations unborn. The scribe does not know it yet, but he is changing the world. Watch his hand. See the way he moves the stylus, quick, practiced, confident. Each wedge-shaped mark is a building block, and soon those blocks will become walls of story, temples of law, bridges of memory. From these symbols will come epics that speak of heroes and gods, of love and loss, of journeys across deserts and seas. From these symbols will come the epic of Gilgamesh itself, whispered from one clay tablet to another, carried through centuries until it finds us here, tonight, in this dream. The scribe leans back, his face weary but serene. He holds the tablet up to the lamplight, inspecting his work. The clay glistens damp and heavy, but already you can see the permanence in it. Tomorrow, it will be left in the sun to harden. Perhaps it will be stored in the temple, tucked among hundreds of other tablets, each one a voice captured, each one a fragment of civilization itself. And perhaps, someday, centuries from now, it will be unearthed by strangers who read these marks as though opening a message sealed across time. Step closer. Imagine running your fingers across the surface of one of these tablets. The grooves are shallow, but they catch your skin, holding fast to the ridges of your fingertips. You are touching the very beginnings of written history, the very first dreams that humanity dared to carve into permanence. The scribe exhales, setting aside his stylus. His lamp sputters softly, its oil nearly spent. Outside, the night deepens, and the city settles further into stillness. But in this quiet room, something eternal has been born. Memory has found its vessel, Dreams have found their anchor, and you, standing in the doorway of this chamber, realize you are witnessing the dawn of history itself. Step back now. Leave the scribe to his work, his head bent once more over clay. Let the night carry you down the narrow streets, past closed doors and silent courtyards, past the dogs curled in sleep and the children dreaming on rooftops. You're walking not just through a city, but through a memory and echo of a time when humanity first learned how to dream in symbols, how to speak across centuries. The streets grow darker. The lamps are fewer. And ahead, the city begins to blur at the edges, as though dissolving into mist. But the memory remains the sound of the stylus pressing into clay, the weight of permanence, the hush of whispers etched into earth. These are cuneiform dreams, eternal and unbroken. And as the city fades, you find yourself carried forward again into the lives of those who live beneath these walls, whose daily rhythms, though simple, held within the heartbeat of civilization. Farmers, potters, shepherds, families' ordinary lives shaping an extraordinary world. The story of daily life in Mesopotamia, waiting for us in the soft glow of dawn. The mist clears and the city reforms around you. No longer the hushed night of the scribes, but the first faint stirrings of morning. A pale light brushes the rooftops, painting the clay brick walls in shades of soft gold. The Euphrates glimmers nearby, reflecting the awakening sky, its waters as steady and eternal as the passage of time itself. Listen closely. The city is beginning to breathe again. A rooster crows from somewhere beyond the rooftops. A cartwheel creaks as it rolls across uneven stones. The scent of baking bread curls through the air, yeast and grain mingling in a warmth that promises nourishment. Mesopotamia stirs awake, not as a king's city or a scribe's memory, but as a shared home of countless ordinary souls. Step into the courtyard of a simple home. It is small, its walls built of sun-dried mud brick, its floor packed smooth with clay. A woman kneels by the hearth, coaxing a flame to life with careful hands. She is grinding barley into flour, her stone mortar echoing with a steady rhythm thunk. Scrape, grind. Each motion is practiced, honed by years of repetition. Yet there is comfort in it, a quiet grace that anchors her family's mourning. Nearby, a child laughs as he tries to help, scattering more grain onto the floor than into the mortar. His mother smiles softly, patient. Life here is not easy, but it is steady. The household is built on the rituals of necessity: bread baked daily, water fetched from the river, pots mended when cracked, clothes woven and rewoven until the fibers can hold no more. Each task is simple, but together they form the rhythm of survival, the heartbeat of the city itself. Step outside again. The streets are narrow, winding like veins through the body of the city. Men and women move slowly through them, carrying baskets of figs, dates, and onions. A shepherd leads a small flock of goats toward the outskirts, their hooves clattering softly against a stone. Children chase one another through the dust, their laughter ringing brighter than the morning bells. Pause for a moment and breathe it in. This is not the grand sweep of kings or the monumental temples of the gods. This is life as it was truly lived, ordinary, textured, human, and yet it is extraordinary in its endurance. For thousands of years, these same rhythms repeated. Bread baked, fields tilled, animals herded, water carried. Civilizations rose and fell, but still, the heartbeat of daily life went on. Now follow the road that leads to the fields beyond the city walls. The sun climbs higher, spilling gold across endless stretches of fertile earth. Here is the gift of the river's rich black soil, moist and ready for the plow. Farmers work in pairs. Wooden plows dragged by oxen, their bodies swaying with the rhythm of the furrows. Each line carved into the earth is a promise, a prayer that the coming harvest will be plentiful enough to feed both family and city. The air is filled with earthy scents: damp soil, crushed grass, the musk of animals. Overhead, a hawk circles lazily, its wings spread wide as it scans the ground below. The farmers do not notice. Their focus is on the soil, on the way the earth gives and resists, on the sweat of labor that has bound humanity to survival since the beginning. As the day grows warmer, Some farmers rest beneath a lone palm, tearing bread into pieces and sharing dates from a woven basket. Conversation drifts in the air, soft and steady. Talk of weather, talk of family, talk of the harvest that is still weeks away, but already the center of their thoughts. Their laughter is low but genuine. It is the sound of people finding moments of joy even in toil. Back in the city, potters spin their wheels, shaping clay into jars that will hold grain, water, or oil. The wheels hum with steady rhythm, the clay soft and yielding beneath their hands. Blacksmiths heat bronze until it glows, hammering tools into shape with sparks that leap like fireflies. Weavers sit at their looms, the threads tightening with each patient tug, patterns emerging for what first seemed like chaos. Each craft is a dream etched in material form. The potter dreams in clay. The weaver dreams in thread. The farmer dreams in furrows of earth. The blacksmith dreams in fire and metal. Together, they weave the tapestry of Mesopotamian life, not grand or glorious, but enduring, alive. The sun begins to dip lower, casting long shadows across the streets. Families gather in courtyards for the evening meal. A bowl of lentils, a loaf of bread, perhaps fish pulled fresh from a river. Simple, humble foods, yet eaten with gratitude. The air is filled with the quiet hum of conversation, the clink of clay bowls, the crackle of firewood. Children drift toward sleep as the stars return overhead. The same stars the priest watched from the ziggurat. The same stars the scribe worked beneath. And now, the same stars watched by families lying on rooftops, cooled by the desert breeze, their dreams cradled beneath constellations that have guided humanity for millennia. This is the soul of Mesopotamia, not just the kings and temples, but the farmers, mothers, children, craftsmen. Their lives are the true foundation, the steady rhythm beneath the grand sweep of history. And though their names have been lost, their presence remains in every brick, every shard of pottery, every line of cuneiform etched in clay. And as the night deepens once more, you find yourself drawn toward the heart of the city again, toward the markets that will awaken with trade, toward the bustling exchange of goods, ideas, and stories that bound Mesopotamia to lands beyond its rivers. The hum of daily life flows into the hum of commerce, carrying us gently onward into the vibrant world of the marketplace. The city awakens once more, not with the soft murmur of daily chores, but with the vibrant pulse of exchange. As you drift through the narrow streets, the sound of footsteps gathers around you, building into a hum, then into a chorus. You follow the current, and soon it carries you into the marketplace, the living, breathing center of Mesopotamia. Here, everything feels alive. The air hums with conversation merchants calling out prices, buyers haggling, children weaving between stalls with laughter trailing behind them. The marketplace is not just a place of trade. It is the lifeblood of the city, where goods, ideas, and stories intertwine like threads and tapestry. Your senses are overwhelmed in the most comforting way. The sharp scent of freshly cut onions mixes with the sweetness of ripe dates. Baskets overflow with figs, pomegranates, and melons, their colors glowing like jewels beneath the morning sun. Grains are piled high in woven sacks, barley, millet, and wheat, the foundation of life itself. Listen closer. A merchant raises his voice, praising the softness of his wool. Another beckons you toward a jar of honey, golden and glistening in the light. Across the way, the metallic ring of bronze tools clinks together as a blacksmith displays his work. Chisels, knives, and plow blades, each one forged in fire and sweat. The marketplace is more than a collection of goods. It is a meeting place of worlds. Traders from distant lands weave their way between the stalls. From the north, they bring timber from cedar forests. From the east, spices arrive, cinnamon, cloves, and the faint perfume of frankincense. From the south, boats drift along the river bearing copper, ivory, and exotic stones. Each good carries with the weight of distance, of travel, of stories whispered across borders. Step closer to one stall. A scribe sits quietly with a clay tablet before him. He records transactions in the wedge-shaped strokes of cuneiform. Grain for wool, fish for oil, Silver exchanged for lapis lazuli, the deep blue stone prized like the night sky itself. The stylus moves swiftly, each mark a promise, each line a record that will outlive the voices speaking here today. The hum of the marketplace is not frantic. It is steady, rhythmic, almost musical. Buyers approach, hands brushing over goods, voices soft but firm. Sellers smile, bargain, relent, or hold firm. This dance of trade has no end, no beginning. It flows like the Euphrates, always moving, always alive. Now let yourself wander deeper. Here is a potter's corner, jars and bowls stacked high, their shapes curving like the gentle rhythm of water. The potter's hands move ceaselessly, smoothing clay, coaxing form from earth. Beside him, a young apprentice turns a wheel, eyes wide with focus. You pause to watch, and it feels as though time itself slows to match the wheels turning. Beyond, musicians play flutes and lyres, their notes weaving into the marketplace like a soft breeze. The sound floats above the chatter, rising and falling like waves. Children gather to listen, swaying gently, their eyes heavy with the spell of the melody. Even the merchants pause, if only for a moment, to let the music wash over them before returning to their trade. Notice, too, the way stories move here. A traveler gestures with wide hands, describing mountains covered in snow. Another speaks of ships sailing across endless seas. The market is not only an exchange of goods, but of imagination. Through these words, the people of Mesopotamia glimpse worlds far beyond their own rivers, dreaming of places they may never see, yet feel connected through trade. As the sun climbs higher, the marketplace swells. Heat gathers, but so too does the sense of life. The rhythm of barter, the fragrance of foods, the gleam of crafted goods together. They form a lullaby of abundance, a song of human connection. And yet, within this bustling heart, there is serenity too. Step aside into a shaded corner, and you'll find an old man selling clay, figurines, small idols, guardians, tokens of hope. He handles each one with reverence, placing them gently into the hands of those who purchase them. His stall is quieter, his smile gentler, as if to remind you that even in the rush of trade, there is still space for the sacred. The day lingers on, the marketplace pulsing steadily like the heartbeat of the city. But as the sun dips lower, shadows stretch and the voices soften. Merchants pack away their goods. The last baskets of dates are tied shut, the final grains weighed and exchanged. The market, so vibrant at its height, now begins to rest. And as you step away, following the path back toward the city's heart, the echo of the marketplace lingers. It is more than commerce, it is connection, community, survival. The hum of trade has carried Mesopotamia through centuries, binding it to lands beyond, weaving its destiny into the fabric of the ancient world. Now, as night draws near again, the city quiets, and another layer of its dreamlike world unfolds. Past the markets, past the homes, past the riverbanks, a sacred silence waits the solemn call of religion and temple life, where gods and humans meet beneath the stars. The echoes of the marketplace fade behind you now, softening into memory. The chatter, the bartering, the laughter all dissolve into the hush of evening. You follow a wide stone path, worn smooth beneath centuries of feet, and ahead rises something vast, something that does not belong entirely to this earth. A temple, solemn and towering, its silhouette etched against the dimming sky. This is no ordinary building. The temple is the axis of Mesopotamian life, the place where the divine and the human meet. Its walls are thick, its steps steep, each one a threshold that brings you closer to the presence of gods. As you approach, torches flicker along the entrance, their flames bending in the wind. Shadows stretch across the carved bricks, and suddenly, the air feels different, charged, as though the very stones are alive with prayer. Inside, the hush is profound. The temple breathes in silence, broken only by the faint crackle of oil lamps. Their golden glow clings to walls painted with sacred images. Lions, bulls, winged deities, symbols of the powers that govern heaven and earth. The ceiling is high, and the smoke from incense curls upward, spiraling into unseen darkness. It smells of cedar, frankincense, and myrrh fragrance that clings to your skin and seeps into your breath. In the distance, you hear the slow rhythm of a drum. One beat, then silence. Another, then stillness again. It marks the pace of rituals that have unfolded here for generations. A priest, robed in linen, moves with measured grace, carrying an offering of bread and honey. His footsteps echo softly, as if time itself slows to accommodate his movements. This place is not only for worship, but for life itself. The temple is a heartbeat of the city, its wealth, its calendar, its justice, all flowing through these sacred halls. Grain is stored here, offerings collected, decisions made in the God's name. Within these walls, the everyday and the eternal are bound together, inseparable. You move closer to the altar. It is simple yet powerful, a stone surface polished smooth, awaiting the touch of both hand and flame. A small statue rests there, a god or goddess carved with exquisite care, eyes wide and unblinking. To the people of Mesopotamia, these figures are not symbols. They are vessels, bodies into which divine presence flows. To stand here is to stand in the company of the gods themselves. The priests chant now, their voices low, steady, weaving together like strands of thread. They call upon Enlil, lord of the winds, upon Ishtar, radiant goddess of love and war, upon Shamash, the sun, who sees all from above. Each word is ancient, carved into memory, carried down through countless generations. The rhythm of their voices is soothing, almost hypnotic, like waves against the shore. Let yourself sink into this rhythm. Imagine the prayers flowing around you, encircling you, binding you gently to the temple's stillness. Here worry dissolves. Here, only the presence of the eternal remains. Step further in, and you find the inner sanctum. It is darker here, quieter, as though the air itself holds its breath. Few are allowed within these walls, only the priests, the chosen, those entrusted with the deepest mysteries. You can feel it, even without entering. The weight of reverence, the hush of eternity pressing close. Outside the temple, rituals extend into the city. Festivals erupt in its courtyards. Processions wind through the streets, music and dance carrying the gods into the open air. But within these walls, there is only stillness. The temple is a bridge between the marketplace and the heavens, between the farmer in his field and the God who sends a rain, between the ruler on his throne and the destiny written in the stars. You linger, feeling the calm of this place. The light of the oil lamps flickers softly, painting shifting shadows on the walls. The chants rise and fall, like a lullaby sung across centuries. And for a moment, you sense what the Mesopotamians must have felt. That life is fragile, fleeting, but always held within the hands of something greater. And as you step back out into the night, the temple at your back, the city stretches before you once again. The stars shimmer above, and the wind carries with a reminder. The gods are everywhere, in every breath, in every grain of sand. Now, let your path guide you forward past the solemn hush of religion, into the lively, beating rhythm of daily homes and family life, where the sacred and the ordinary intertwine in yet another layer of this dreamlike journey. The solemn chants of the temple fade as you step back into the streets. The stars have gathered overhead now, a gentle canopy, and the warmth of the day has melted into a cool breeze. You walk deeper into the city, guided by lanterns that hang from doorways and the laughter that drifts softly from within the mud brick walls of Mesopotamian homes. Unlike the grand temples or bustling marketplaces, these houses are intimate, tucked closely together, forming a labyrinth of alleys. Each home is built from the same sun-baked bricks, yet each one carries the marks of its family, an etched symbol above the door, a woven mat roll beside the entrance, or the faint smell of bread still cooling from the day's baking. You pause at the threshold of one such house. The wooden door creaks open just enough to let you slip inside. Immediately, you feel the difference. Outside was a world of commerce and gods. Inside is a world of people warm, tender, and full of life's simple rhythms. The house is dim, lit by a single oil lamp whose golden flame flickers against plaster walls. The air smells faintly of clay and grain, mixed with the sweetness of dates. The main room is small, but it feels alive. Woven reed mats cover floor, and along the edges are low benches draped with fabrics. In one corner rests a clay jar, its lid tied down with rope, guarding the family's precious water. Children's laughter bubbles from the inner courtyard. You follow the sound and find them chasing one another, their sandals kicking up little clouds of dust. Their games are timeless rolling hoops, tossing pebbles, weaving reeds into makeshift toys. Their joy is infectious, lightening the air. Nearby, a mother kneels at a low table, grinding grain on a stone slab. Her hands move rhythmically back and forth, her motion steady and practiced. The faint sound of stone against stone fills the air, a lullaby of labor that has fed generations. The flour she makes will become bread by morning, a staple of every meal. In the corner of the courtyard, a father carefully repairs a net. His hands are rough, marked by years of farming, but his touch is precise. Each knot he ties is a quiet promise. Tomorrow, he will cast this net into the river, and with luck, fish will return with him, feeding the family once more. You notice how the household feels like a world within itself. The courtyard is open to sky, and above you, the stars glimmer faintly, as though watching over the family. Life flows inward here, work, rest, and prayer all blending together. It is a sanctuary, humble but profound. The day winds down within these walls in a rhythm older than memory. The children tire from play, their laughter softening into yawns. A mother gathers them close, weaving a story from memory. Perhaps a tale of Gilgamesh or Nana, gods and heroes reshaped into bedtime magic. The children's eyes grow heavy, their breathing slow, as dreams begin to carry them away. You sit quietly, watching. The flickering lamp, the faint murmur of the mother's voice, the sigh of the evening wind to the open courtyard, it is all so gentle, so deeply human. This is what civilization is built upon, not just temples or kings, but the simple, enduring life of families who rise each day, who share bread, who tell stories, who love and endure. And as you sit there, you realize that you are seeing something universal. Though the bricks are ancient and the tools simple, the heartbeat of the home is timeless. A child's laughter, a parent's care, the comfort of shelter these threads bind every age, weaving the human story across millennia. The oil lamp burns lower now, its flame shrinking as the house drifts toward silence. One by one, the family finds rest, lying on mats rolled out upon the floor. The air grows still. A dog outside gives a single bark, then curls up at the doorway. The stars watch silently from above. You linger just a little longer, feeling the peace of this place. The temple gave you eternity. The home gives you tenderness. Together, they form the balance of life, the sacred and the ordinary, the infinite and the fleeting. When you step outside once more, the alley is quiet. 1,000 houses line these streets, each with its own stories, its own laughter, its own flickering lamp. Behind every door, life unfolds. Behind every wall, someone dreams. And now, as you continue your journey, your path will lead you beyond the city walls, into the vast fields where Mesopotamian farmers labor under the sky. Where the hum of the land itself will lull you deeper into this dream. The city grows quieter behind you. Its alleys fade into the distance, the flicker of oil lamps swallowed by the night. Ahead lies the open expanse of Mesopotamia's lifeblood, the farmland stretching endlessly beneath the starlit sky. The air feels different here, lighter, touched with the earthy scent of soil and water. Somewhere nearby, a night breeze stirs the tall reeds, their whisper blending with the soft croak of frogs along the riverbank. This land between the Tigris and the Euphrates is not just a backdrop to civilization, it is its very foundation. Every stalk of barley, every date hanging from a palm, every jar of grain stored for winter owes its existence to these rivers. To walk here is to walk the cradle of agriculture, where human hands first learned to shape the rhythms of nature into a steady heartbeat of survival. Even at night, the fields breathe with life. The earth is dark, but you can almost see the faint outlines of furrows cut deep into the soil, patiently waiting for the water that sustains them. Irrigation canals, carved by generations of farmers, glimmer faintly in the moonlight. You follow their winding paths, marveling at how the river's unpredictable floods were tamed, redirected, and woven into a system that turned barren earth into fertile abundance. You hear the faint sound of water trickling, a reminder that this system is alive even in the stillness of night. The canals carry more than water. They carry stability, the promise that tomorrow will bring bread, beer, and life itself. In the distance, a farmer works beneath the moon. His figure is steady, guiding a wooden plow pulled by oxen. Though most sleep now, farming never fully rests. The seasons demand vigilance, and the farmer knows the soil must be ready before dawn. His steps are slow, deliberate, as though he is dancing in rhythm with the earth itself. Each furrow is a line of hope, a prayer etched into the ground. Further along, date palms sway gently in the breeze. Their tall silhouettes stand like guardians of the fields. Beneath them, clusters of sweet fruit ripen, promising nourishment that has sustained generations. You can almost taste the richness of the dates, their honeyed sweetness lingering on the tongue, paired with bread made from the barley that thrives in these fields. This is not merely labor, it is ritual. Every act of farming is infused with reverence. Farmers often leave small offerings at the edges of their fields. A bit of grain, a sip of beer poured onto the soil, words whispered to the gods who watch over the harvest. For them, agriculture is not just survival. It is a covenant between earth, water, and heaven. The night deepens, and you hear the faint rustle of reeds along the irrigation canals. You imagine the mornings that will come soon, men and women rising at dawn, spreading across the fields, children running between rows of crops, laughter mingling with the lowing of cattle. Farming is not only work, it is community. Entire families live in rhythm with the soil, bound by its cycles, lifted by its abundance, humbled by its fragility. And yet, despite the toil, there is peace here. The steady cycle of sowing and reaping, of watering and harvesting, brings a kind of certainty, a grounding that carries the people of Mesopotamia through each season. As you stand in the fields beneath the stars, you feel that same calm, the reassurance that life, no matter how fragile, is sustained by these simple, enduring patterns. Close your eyes for a moment. Hear the trickle of water in the canals. Feel the breeze brushing across the barley. Sense the heartbeat of the land, steady and ancient. This is a rhythm that lulled generations into sleep, that whispered through their dreams, that shaped the cradle of civilization itself. And as your path winds forward, you feel yourself being drawn toward the rising hum of the city, once more not to marketplace this time, nor to the temple, but to the places where minds gather to record, to reckon, and to write. The discovery of something extraordinary, the birth of writing born from clay and reeds, waiting just ahead. The soft trickle of irrigation water fades as your footsteps guide you back toward the city. The air feels different now. Not the earthy breath of the fields, but something sharper, quieter, alive with thought. Ahead lies a small chamber, tucked beside a courtyard, where a faint glow spills into the night. You step closer and see the source. A simple oil lamp burning low, its golden light falling across the surface of a clay tablet. A man sits cross-legged before it, reed stylus in hand. He is a scribe, one of the keepers of knowledge. His brow is furrowed in concentration, his movement steady and precise. With each careful press of the stylus, wedge-shaped marks bloom across the clay. Lines of cuneiform that seem almost like tiny constellations scattered across a tablet surface. You lean closer, mesmerized. These symbols, so small, so deliberate, hold immense power. They are not mere scratches. They are memory itself, pressed into earth, destined to outlast the fleeting breath of speech. What began as a need to track barley rations, grain harvest, or livestock counts became something more. The invention of writing, the birth of recorded thought. The scribe pauses for a moment, dips the stylus into water, and resumes. You realize that you are watching civilization carve its story into permanence. Each mark is a tether, binding today to tomorrow, ensuring that nothing is forgotten. Here, in this quiet chamber, humanity has begun to master time. The clay tablet he works on tonight, Maybe mundane, perhaps a list of debts, or a record of grain distributed at the temple. Yet even in its simplicity, it is sacred. These records form the bones of society, the invisible structure that holds markets, homes, and temples together. Without them, memory fades. With them, the city endures. You glance around the chamber. Shelves hold stacks of hardened tablets, some cracked, some worn smooth with age. Each one whispers with voices long gone. Kings declaring victories, merchants keeping accounts, priests recording rituals, poets composing hymns to gods. The room hums with quiet immortality. The scribe lifts his head briefly and stretches his hands. You see the fatigue in his eyes, but also something else, a quiet pride. He is not a soldier, nor a farmer, nor a priest, yet his work shapes all their worlds. The farmer's barley becomes inked into records. The king's decrees become laws written in clay. The prayers of the temple are preserved for generations to recite. In these tiny wedges, the scribe carries the memory of an entire civilization. Outside, the night deepens, but here the clay holds a day in its grasp. You realize that in this act of pressing of a reed into clay, humanity has crossed an invisible threshold. Words no longer vanish in the air. They remain, enduring through centuries. Without knowing it, this scribe is ensuring that one day, far beyond his lifetime, you too would sit here, watching, listening, understanding. You close your eyes, letting the rhythm of the stylus guide your breathing. Tap, press, lift. Tap, press, lift. It is almost like a heartbeat, soft and steady, lulling you deeper into the dream. For a moment, you imagine what it would be like to hold one of these tablets warm from the fire, the faint scent of baked clay clinging to it, the marks beneath your fingers alive with meaning. When you open your eyes again, the scribe has finished. He places a tablet gently among the others, its place secure, its voice added to the chorus of civilization. He blows softly on the oil lamp, and the flame dwindles to smoke. Darkness fills the chamber, but the words remain. They always remain. And as you step back into the night air, you feel a shift within you. The fields gave you rhythm, but the writing gave you permanence. Together, they form the pulse of Mesopotamia. The harvest feeding the body, the words feeding the soul. Ahead, the city still hums, but your path now leads toward a new kind of wonder. Not carved into clay, but built of stories, of myths that soar beyond the walls of earth into the realm of gods and heroes. Tales that shaped how the people dreamed, and perhaps how you will dream tonight. The night air embraces you again as you leave the scribe's chamber, but something lingers. The sound of the stylus, the weight of clay, the permanence of those wedge-shaped marks. And you realize not all tablets held accounts or decrees. Some carried something far older, far deeper stories. Tales so powerful that even millennia later, they echo in the world we live in now. The path before you glimmers faintly in the moonlight, and as you follow it, you find yourself at the base of a towering ziggurat. Its steps rise like a mountain carved by human hands, tier upon tier reaching for the heavens. You pause, tilting your head back. The stars crown its peak like jewels scattered across the sky. This, you know, is where myth and memory meet. A hush falls over the air, and you begin to hear voices, not the chatter of the marketplace, not the chant of priests, but the low murmur of stories told by firelight. You see families gathered in courtyards, elders leaning close, children wide-eyed in the glow of flickering flames. These are the stories that shaped the soul of Mesopotamia, the tales that carried truth not in numbers, but in wonder. You hear the story of Gilgamesh, the mighty king of Uruk, part divine, part mortal, restless in his power and hungry for meaning. You hear his friendship with Enkidu, wild and untamed, a brother born of the wilderness. Their bond carried them through battles with beasts and gods alike, yet it also led Gilgamesh to the aching truth of mortality. As the story unfolds, you feel its weight, the yearning of humanity to outlast death, to find eternal life, to carve a legacy that time cannot erase. Another voice rises, telling of Inanna, goddess of love and war, descending into the underworld. You imagine her stepping past the gates, each one demanding a piece of her power, her adornment stripped until she stands bare before the realm of shadows. Her descent is more than a tale, is the rhythm of life itself. Love and loss, fertility and decay, the endless cycle of death and rebirth. The listeners lean closer, spellbound, because through Inanna's story they see their own reflection, their struggles, their seasons, their fragile hope. Then comes a tale of the flood, older than many you've heard before, yet strangely familiar. The gods, angered by humanity's clamor, sent waters to wash the earth clean. But one man, warned in a dream, built an ark, filled it with life, and rode the storm until calm returned. As the storyteller speaks, you feel a shiver because you know this story survived beyond Mesopotamia, carried into cultures, religions, and legends that echo even today. These myths are more than entertainment. They are guides, maps of the unseen, weaving meaning into the struggles of life. The Mesopotamians did not separate story from truth. In their world, myth was truth, alive with lessons and warnings, comfort and awe. The night grows deeper, and still the stories flow. You can almost see the flames flickering, casting long shadows that stretch like gods across the walls. Each tale seems to breathe into the night, as if the very stars above lean down to listen. And you, standing at the foot of the ziggurat, feel yourself becoming part of this gathering. Close your eyes for a moment. Hear the rise and fall of the storyteller's voice. Feel the weight of the myths, the way they drift between reality and dream, pulling you gently towards sleep. They are not just Mesopotamian stories. They are human stories, still alive in the marrow of who we are. When you open your eyes again, the voices fade, the flames dim, the ziggurat looms silent once more. Yet something remains within you, a quiet wonder, a sense of stepping into the dream world of gods and heroes. And now, as you turn to follow the path onward, your journey leads into another kind of wonder, not carved in clay, nor spoken by storytellers, but woven into the heavens themselves. The Mesopotamians were not only keepers of myths, they were also watchers of the stars. And it is toward those stars, glittering above you even now, that your path drifts next. The night above you feels vast, endless, sprinkled with constellations so bright they look close enough to touch. You step slowly away from the ziggurat, but your eyes never leave the sky. For the people of Mesopotamia, these stars were not distant fires, they were messengers, guides, and sometimes gods themselves. A faint breeze brushes your skin as you recall what the scribes' tablets carried. Not only myths and records, but charts of the heavens. The Mesopotamians were among the first to map the stars, to track the movement of the moon, the sun, and the wandering planets. To them, the night sky was not chaos. It was a living calendar, a clock that marked the rhythm of existence. Imagine standing on these same plains thousands of years ago. Farmers watched the skies carefully, their livelihoods depending on the cycles of the moon and the predictability of the seasons. The swelling of the Tigris and Euphrates could mean survival or disaster, and so the heavens became their warning signs, their way of measuring time. The rising of certain stars told them when to sow seed, when to harvest, when to prepare for the floods. In a land where life depended on water, the stars were not distant beauty, they were lifelines. And then there were the priests, gazing from temple rooftops. You picture them wrapped in robes, eyes lifted, lips murmuring as they marked the phases of the moon with reed pens on clay. To them, the stars were more than markers of time. They were omens, messages from the divine. Every flicker of a planet, every eclipse of the moon, every sudden burst of light in the heavens was a sign to be read, a voice from the gods. The air feels still as you imagine them recording what they saw night after night. Over centuries, their observations grew into one of humanity's earliest sciences, astronomy. Yet for the Mesopotamians, science and spirit were not separate. The stars carried both order and mystery, mathematics and myth. Your eyes wander across the sky, and you notice familiar patterns. The ram, the bull, the twins. Constellations you recognize, constellations still named today. Many of them trace their roots back here, to Mesopotamia, where star maps laid the groundwork for what will become the zodiac. It is a reminder that when you check your horoscope or glance at the night sky, you are reaching across millennia to the very same heavens these ancient people studied. A hush settles over you, and you notice how the sky itself seems to breathe, how the stars pulse softly, how the moon glides slowly, how the darkness itself feels alive. The Mesopotamians believed that by aligning themselves with the heavens, they were aligning with cosmic order. To know the sky was to know the will of the gods, the flow of time, the balance of life. You breathe in slowly, deeply, letting the sky fill your vision. The stars seem to shimmer in rhythm with your own pulse. And you realize you, too, are part of the same cosmic dance. The same moon that guided their calendars shines on you now. The same constellations that told them when to plant barley gleam above your own night. Across thousands of years, the sky connects you. Slowly, you let your gaze drift back down from the stars. The city rests quietly beneath you, its lamps flickering like small echoes of the heavens above. The ziggurat rises still, a mountain bridging earth and sky, and you feel the threads of time weave together myth and memory, earth and heavens, man and God. The Mesopotamians did not see themselves as separate from the stars. They saw themselves reflected in them. And perhaps, as you prepare to walk further into this dream, you can feel the same truth, that the night sky is not only above you, it is within you. Ahead, another sound begins to draw you onward. Not the hush of stars, not the whispers of myth, but something more immediate, more human, the distant strains of music, drifting gently through the warm night air. And so, with the stars still shimmering overhead, you begin to follow that melody deeper into Mesopotamia's soul. The path leads you away from the quiet ziggurat and the starlit sky. The silence of the heavens slowly gives way to something more intimate, more human. At first, it's faint like a thread of sound carried on the night breeze. A pluck, a hum, a rhythm that seems to pulse in time with your heartbeat. You pause, tilting your head, letting the melody wash over you. You follow the sound through winding alleys until you emerge into a courtyard glowing with lamplight. Here, gathered under the open sky, sit musicians. Their instruments gleam in firelight shapes both strange and familiar, their strings and reeds alive beneath practiced hands. The music curls upward into the night, weaving itself between the stars and the warm earth. You see one musician cradle a lyre, its wooden frame strung with shining chords. He plucks gently, and the notes spill into the air like drops of honey, slow and golden. Another holds a flute carved from reed, its breathy song rising and falling like the Tigris itself. A drummer taps a steady beat on a frame drum, his palms pulling rhythm from stretched skin. Together, their sounds blend string, breath, and pulse like voices in harmony. You sit quietly at the edge of the gathering, letting the music settle into you. This is not just entertainment. For the Mesopotamians, music was devotion, ritual, and memory. It lived in temples where hymns to the gods echoed against stone. It lived in palaces where musicians played for kings and queens, softening the way to rule. And it lived in homes in small moments of joy, where parents sang lullabies to children drifting into dreams. The lyre's song grows richer, and your thoughts wander to famous instruments unearthed in the royal tombs of lyres adorned with gold, silver, and lapis lazuli, their beauty as breathtaking as their sound. These were not mere tools of music. They were treasures, offerings, objects sacred enough to accompany rulers into the afterlife. To hold one was to touch the divine. As you watch, the players change their rhythm. The flute sighs low and mournful. The drum softens to a heartbeat pace. The lyre's notes grow distant, like footsteps fading. It feels as if the music itself is telling a story of gods and men, of grief and joy, of the passage of time. And though the language is different, though thousands of years separate you, you understand. Because music speaks to something deeper than words. Your eyes grow heavier as you listen. The rhythm cradles you. The melody sways you gently like a boat rocking on calm water. The night air is warm. The stars still glitter, and the music seems to float between them. A bridge connecting heaven and earth. It's easy to imagine how many nights in ancient Mesopotamia ended just like this, with music carrying people from the labors of the day into the quiet of dreams. A sound that comforted, a sound that lingered, a sound that reminded them they were alive. The final notes of the song drift upward and fade into silence. For a long moment, nothing moves. The musicians lower their instruments. The flames flicker, and only the hush of the night remains. You feel an ache, gentle but real, because something so beautiful has ended. But then you realize that's the gift of music. It lives in the silence it leaves behind, still resonating in your chest, still echoing in your breath. You rise slowly, carrying the memory of those notes with you. As you step away from the courtyard, the echoes follow, like invisible companions. Ahead, the path darkens once more, yet it is not empty, because beyond the music, beyond the night, another presence awaits, one born not a sound, but a faith. The Mesopotamians not only made music for each other, they made it for their gods. And now, your journey leads toward the sacred temples where devotion and worship were the beating heart of their world. The last echoes of music still hum in your chest as you continue down the winding path. The night air feels thicker now, carrying with it a sense of awe. Ahead, rising above the quiet houses, you see the dark silhouette of a temple. Its walls loom tall, its gates stand wide, and the faint glow of oil lamps flickers from within. Each flame sways gently as though alive, casting golden veins of light into the shadows. You pause before stepping inside, your feet resting on worn stone that countless worshippers have crossed before you. For the Mesopotamians, temples were more than buildings. They were sacred mountains on earth, homes of the gods, the very centers of life. Every city had its own temple, dedicated to its patron deity Ishtar, goddess of love and war. Enki, the wise lord of waters. Shamash, the sun god who judged all with his light. As you step through the gates, the air cools and a low hum greets you. Not the hum of insects or wind, but the murmured prayers of priests and priestesses. They move slowly, their white robes brushing the stone floor. In their hands they carry bowls of incense, the smoke rising in delicate spirals, perfuming the air with sweetness. The scent is calming, almost intoxicating. You move deeper into the temple, and the space opens into a vast hall. The ceiling soars above, vanishing into darkness, while carved columns rise like ancient trees. The walls are lined with relief stories etched in stone, showing gods seated on thrones, kings kneeling before them, and winged guardians watching over mortals. The images seem to flicker in the lamplight, as though they are alive, shifting with every breath. At the center stands the inner sanctuary, veiled in shadow. This is where the god resides, not in statue alone, but in presence and spirit. The Mesopotamians believed their deities could inhabit these spaces, listening to prayers, accepting offerings, granting protection or punishment. Here, time itself feels different, stretched thin, as though you are standing on a threshold between the human and the divine. You watch as worshippers bring offerings, baskets of grain, jugs of beer, figs and dates glistening in the firelight. Each gift is placed with reverence, each gesture slow and deliberate. The offerings are not mere tokens, they are lifelines, given in gratitude and hope. To feed the gods was to ensure the gods would feed the people in return, with fertile land, healthy children, and protection from chaos. The priests step forward now, their voices rising in song. The chants echo through the temple, deep and resonant, vibrating through the very walls. You feel the sound in your bones, each word ancient and powerful. This is not music for human ears alone. It is music for gods, hymns carried upward on waves of sound and smoke. As the chanting continues, you feel yourself swaying with the rhythm, your breath syncing with the voices. The flickering flames blur, the carved reliefs seem to shift, and for a moment, you can almost believe the gods are here, seated just beyond the veil, their eyes upon you. It is not frightening, it is comforting, like being held in something vast, eternal, unshakable. Temples like this were not only spiritual centers, but also the heart of society. They were treasuries, schools, and granaries. Within their walls, scribes recorded the city's history. Priests advised kings, and offerings supported the community. The temple was both practical and mystical, both human and divine. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the chanting wrap around you like a cloak. The smoke curls upward, disappearing into darkness above, carry with it countless prayers. For rain, for love, for justice, for peace. Perhaps you add your own silent wish, breathing it into the air, trusting it to rise with the others. When you open your eyes again, the chants have softened, fading into silence. A deep stillness settles, heavy yet serene, as though the very stones of the temple are listening. You bow your head slightly, feeling both small and infinite all at once. Slowly, you step back into the night air. The temple looms behind you, its walls glowing faintly under the stars, its prayers still echoing in your ears. Ahead, the streets stretch once more, quiet and empty, leading you further into Mesopotamia's embrace. But the city does not sleep, not entirely. Somewhere nearby, you hear laughter, footsteps, the murmur of voices. For all their devotion, the Mesopotamians were also people of celebration. And so, your journey carries you next toward the heart of their gatherings, their festivals and rituals, where devotion and joy merged under the stars. The temple's shadow lingers behind you, vast and eternal, but ahead the night shimmers with a different kind of energy. The air is alive, thick with laughter, music, the rhythmic beat of drums. You follow the sound, weaving through narrow streets until you spill into an open square bursting with light and movement. This is no ordinary night. It is a festival. And in Mesopotamia, festivals were not rare. They were the threads that bound people to their gods, to one another, and to the turning of the seasons. Lanterns flicker in long rows, casting a warm golden glow across the crowd. Bright fabrics sway in the torchlight scarves of crimson, sashes of deep indigo, tunics embroidered with gold thread. Everywhere you look, color seems to ripple like a living painting. Children dart between adults, clutching sweets made of honey and dates, their laughter piercing to the hum of voices. At the center of the square, a procession approaches. Priests carry statues of gods upon platforms draped in flowers and ribbons. The figures are radiant, lifted high above the crowd, their painted eyes seeming to gaze directly into the sea of worshippers. As they pass, the people raise their hands in reverence, some murmuring prayers, others simply basking in the divine presence. The drums quicken, echoing like thunder across the square. Dancers whirl in circles, their feet stamping against the packed earth in time with the rhythm. Their hands sweep upward, outward, as though pulling blessings down from the heavens. Flutes trill above the drums, sharp and joyful, while lyres weave shimmering melodies between each beat. The music is not background, it is the voice of the celebration itself, calling everyone to move, to feel, to surrender to the joy. A group of women scatter flower petals into the air, their scent mingling with the smoke of incense drifting in spirals from bronze burners. The mingling fragrances wrap around you floral sweetness, earthy spice, resin that clings to the night. For a moment, you close your eyes and simply breathe, letting the sounds and smells sweep you into their current. Festivals in Mesopotamia were more than entertainment. They were bridges between people and gods. The Akita festival, for example, marked the new year and celebrated renewal, life, and the favor of the divine. For days, the city would rejoice with rituals, processions, and feasts, all designed to reaffirm the bond between humans and the powers that shaped their world. And oh, the feasts! Long wooden tables lined the square, piled high with roasted meats, fresh bread still steaming from clay ovens, bowls of figs and pomegranates, pitchers of sweet date wine. Families gather around them, tearing bread with their hands, passing cups, laughing until their voices blend with the music. Food is not just sustenance, it is offering gratitude and togetherness. A storyteller rises near the feast, his voice carrying over the din. Children hush, eyes wide, as he begins to weave the tale of God who battled chaos to bring order to the world. His gestures are grand, his tone rising and falling like waves, his words painting images so vivid, You can almost see the battle flicker in the firelight. Stories like this are not simply for amusement. They are how wisdom is passed down, how memory survives, how gods remain alive in the hearts of the people. As the night deepens, the festival grows wilder. The dancers spin faster. The music swells louder. The laughter rings brighter. But beneath the joy, there is always reverence. Every movement, every note, every offering is a thread woven into the tapestry of devotion. The people are not only celebrating, they are renewing the sacred balance between themselves and the divine. You feel your own heart quicken with the rhythm, your body light with the joy that thrums through the square. For a moment, you are no longer an outsider. You are one of them, celebrating, honoring, feasting beneath the same stars that watched over this land thousands of years ago. And as the drums thunder into the night, you realize something profound. For the Mesopotamians, life itself was a ritual. Every act, whether prayer in a temple or laughter at a festival, was a way of keeping the gods close, of keeping the world in harmony. The music softens, the dancing slows, and the voices fade into a low hum of contentment. Families drift home, torches dim, and the square grows quieter. But the echoes of the festival linger, shimmering in the air like embers that refuse to die. As you step away, your journey continues. From feasts and dances, your path now drifts to something more practical yet just as vital, the markets, where trade and commerce pulse like the lifeblood of Mesopotamian cities.